2,420 hectares of farmland in the community where he planted fruits such as mango and orange. Some indigents who claimed they were not compensated for the land had allegedly set the farm on fire, beat up and robbed the firefighters deployed in the area to put out the fire. And this is what we will be looking at this morning. I have a guest in the house. He is a public affairs analyst, Mr. Andrew Imeleze. It's good to have you here this morning.
Yeah, good to be with you. Good morning, all.
Yes, what are your thoughts on this sad developments?
Well, really, just like you said, it's sad that tension is continually being propagated in Nigeria, so that it has gotten to the level of continuation of what we are seeing, insecurity, arson, and the people are reacting. I think it's not a very good thing that we are hearing that Obasanjo's farm in Benue State is being burnt. This is a settlement that, of course, will encourage employment, will encourage supply of food, the needed food for the society, and also for livestock, and also for research and development. But there are also issues to also be looked at.
Okay.
The information we are hearing so far is not too clear. We are yet to get to the root of the matter to know those that were involved in the arson, probably, and also know the reasons why they have embarked on such.
They have already, from what we have here, they've told us the reason that the guy said they were not being compensated for the land. We have what we call Omonile in Yoruba land, for example. I think maybe that was what played out too. Who felt that, oh, you are not from Benue, you have these hectares of land, and they feel that this is their fatherland, they should be compensated for that particular land.
I think one should also be patient to get to know the security reports, well digested, well produced, and on the matter, because for now I think it's still on the surface. Not until then we might just have to be doing our analysis based on probably other forms of assumptions. Until the security comes out, and let's see the cause of the fire and those arrested, if eventually there will be any arrest and if they will be sincere with it. But the fact remains, yes, it's not a very good thing. As an individual, you have the right to also engage in business, and as a citizen, you can move freely within the country to do business. But the question we also want to ask, as Obasanjo being a public officer, or rather a former public officer, how come he's in a position to amass so much wealth to be able to possess, if I'm not too sure, the amount of land in hectares rather, the amount of land he said he had gotten in Benue State alone. And I'm very sure that's where he has it all over the Federation, land, from where and what have you. So what we are thinking is that probably it might also be that the people are also feeling cheated, that this land is gotten probably illegally, or probably it's a form of land grabbing, or probably that Obasanjo has used his position to take advantage of them and acquire these lands without compensating them. And most likely, probably the community is also not feeling the impact, because what really happens most times is that when these investors or our politicians who had also gotten wealth through one means or the other invest in a particular place, the people in that community might not feel the impact. They might just be there, and the few ones working will be exploited, and the gains will eventually go out, will fly out of the community, yes, and so there will be reaction.
You will continue with your line of thoughts. There are viewers to be part of this conversation. Please dial the number on your TV set to ask questions or contribute, or if you have information on this particular conversation this morning. Yes, another aspect that we should look at is who will benefit from all of this. We have a situation where this particular investment will generate employment opportunities for the teeming youth in that particular community. We will have businesses. He said there were oranges and fruit crops from what we read on that particular farm. Who will actually benefit from all of this? Is it not the people of Benue?
Well, I think we are still in a state of confusion. We are yet to fully decide as a community, as a country, the way forward. Whether we will put our lives in the hands of the private sector to drive the society, or probably the public will take the burning spare in trying to determine the pace of things in society. Now, if it's the private sector, the implication is however we do it, yes, we can generate employment, and at the end of the day, the major beneficiary will be the owner of the farm. It's going to be more of an animal farm situation whereby all that is being produced, the gains, will eventually go to the private sector. But then if it were to be owned by the community, the public, I think the benefit will go to the people. All the same, to some extent, at least it will also solve to some extent the crisis of unemployment, because no matter what, some people will be employed. Even if they are underemployed, they're employed, and they can also impart in the society with the little they also get from the employment. So for now, it's not in anybody's interest if the farms belonging to former President Obasanjo is burned, because if at all there is need for any protest against such a farm, probably believing that the land was taken illegally from them, it shouldn't be through arson. It shouldn't be that kind of protest. Rather, they should also fight to see how they can socialize the farm, how the community can legally take over the farm and nationalize it. If that is not done, I think what we are trying to see is that we are trying to increase tension, to increase the tension on the land, so that we will now start fighting ourselves on the way we are not supposed to.
If you notice, when this government came on board, they talked about diversification into the agricultural sector. But here we have so many factors militating against the agricultural sector. In the year, last year, we have farmer herders clashes, pockets across the country. Now we are having cases of arson. We have farmers are not even comfortable to go to their farmlands anymore.
That is the implication of the tension we are seeing increasing on a daily basis. You know, naturally, in Nigeria, the highest employer of labor is agriculture. And as part of diversification, we had advocated that, yes, government should invest more in agriculture. But now, farmers are not allowed to work on their fields any longer for security reasons and what have you. And that's what we are seeing playing in Benue State. Part of the security reasons is that the society itself is not secured. There is tension everywhere. People are feeling cheated. People are hungry. There is so much poverty on the land, and this will cause a disillusionment. Part of the disillusionment is that it will encourage false consciousness, and so people want to take the laws into their hands. People want to survive. People want to react based on the pains they are feeling, confronting them as a result of the poor governance we are seeing on the land. So on the basis of that, people will be compelled to do what they are not supposed to do, like this burning or the arson of a thing. It might be as a result of the frustration and the anger that has been piling up, and people now see a way of trying to cool down, a way of trying to protest. They might also want to react that way, but that's not in the best interest of society.
We have been talking about increase in the prices of food items. We have a situation where, according to data, they said 7 million Nigerians are into poverty, and more than 11 million may further plunge into poverty if something is not critically done. If we are having this kind of data, if we are having all of this, shouldn't we embrace and do everything that can ensure that agriculture thrives in Nigeria?
No, the data we are having so far, and even from the practical life, is frightening. It's equally embarrassing and equally disgraceful, not just to the Nigerian society, but to the Nigerian government, because I think the government is not showing any sense of shame with the international data and the local data we've been having so far, so that Nigeria is seen as the poverty capital of the world. And then our people inevitably should also try as much as possible to not to encourage measures that will make the data to grow. But then the people must also react to their environment, to their social environment. Part of the reaction is they must show expressions to the frustrations they are having. Inevitably, we are all psychological human beings. And so part of those things is that sometimes the false consciousness will make us to react wrongly. As far as I'm concerned, the attempt or burning down of Obasanjo's farm is a wrong reaction to the sociology facing Nigeria. Just like we're having issues now, the tropical issues of Yahoo Plus and Yahoo engagement by Nigerian youth.
Sorry, you have a call here. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Mr. Olumide. I'm calling from Ondo town at Ondo State.
Oh, interesting. Good morning. Your contribution, please.
My contribution on what happened to Obasanjo farm. is that this ambassador is the head of state and also our former president of Nigeria. Who are not at a test on him. They don't like him, and just don't like him. Because they're going to make a policy for agriculture so that when the entire running head of state during the military of the federation, they have to make food available to all those states. And make it a personal gain. That's what people do eating. When there's fire there, they send the people to an fire brigade. And people in that community in the community is not liking. You don't make flag to them. We shall go and kill people. They color them their farm. Then they want to be stuck. Less of time. Yeah, and now the food price have increased. The farmers are given food to be less price. And you know that also. There are people like people attack you. The fire brigade. Before it's about one, now you say the first level now. To do the farm to do again. And that's why it's about personality.
Thank you so much for that contribution. We quite appreciate. Yes, he's saying that maybe it's a personal reaction based on antecedents and what they think.
Yes.
Sorry, another call here. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Your name and where you're calling from?
I'm Abdulaziz calling from Adamawa State.
Oh, from Adamawa State. Mr. Abdulaziz, good morning. Your contribution.
Why not? With regard to the issue of Arsenal, it's an unfortunate scenario that these things is happening in this country. Israel is trying to exacerbate the issue of insecurity. If you can see, the farmers are not safe in their farm. So the government should come in. There has to be a round table dialogue between the farmers and traders and all of those that are involved. All the security agencies have to be involved. So because as this training is escalating, it is detrimental to the productivity of our system. You can see there is no nation in this world that will survive with this kind of anarchy and this kind of destructions.
Exactly.
This will discourage investment in agriculture. No nation in this world that will survive unless it can be able to sustain its consumption needs. We cannot sustain our consumption, then how are we going to move forward? If consumption is not satisfied, how can you save a penny? So my advice is let the government come and set up a
roundtable conference. Thank you so much. We quite appreciate you for your rich contribution. Yes, you have heard the contributions of people. He's talking about a roundtable conference that will involve security operatives, governments, and communities to nip this in the bud.
I think the last two callers had contributed richly, just like you said. And the last caller also made a very powerful point that no nation can survive with this rate of anarchy. The other caller before him also talked about the people reacting, a kind of resistance trying to grow as a reaction of the shortcomings of our society in the past.
We still have another call. Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
I'm calling from Yaouli, Kebbi State.
Oh, great. From Kebbi State. Your contribution, please.
My name is Abdiwasio Adeladu.
Okay.
My advice to the federal government upon this issue is that they have to take action on the insecurity problem. All these problems we have it for territory everywhere. Confirmed. So all those people that are doing this thing, government have to take action on them so that
we will not be able to lose all our goods in Nigeria again. So this type of problem, it will cause a lot of problems to us if the action will not be taken.
Thank you so much for that contribution. We are grateful.
Well, yes, action must be taken, but then the people are reacting. It's a kind of reaction, or rather resistance
But
movement.
is that reaction in the right direction?
It's
Another
not
call is still
in the
coming
right-
in. Hello?
Hello.
Your name and where you're calling from? Good morning.
I'm calling from Makodi.
Oh, from Makodi. Good morning. Your name?
My name is Mr. Robert.
Oh, Mr.
I
Robert.
want to comment on this. I want to comment on this action on Obasanjo's.
Go ahead, please.
That's a very unfortunate incident that happened. But all the same, I'm only advising if Obasanjo had we had such a large hectares of farm in such a given community. I don't know the impact it has created on the immediate community, whether they were empowered to equally start having their own. But it's very unfortunate. On the other hand, I seriously blame our past leaders for such a number one citizen of this country to have such a place, and security is not being for within the premises of the farm is so unfortunate. What happened to some of us, the ordinary Nigerians, like the Fulani headers, incurring on certain farmers, burning down such. So please, the architecture of our leaders presently, they should dwell seriously on security. Because security, without security, most of our investments will be in geography. Please, I want the president, even the current leader of the presidency, to actually take security issues very serious. That's my advice.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your advice.
Being the major core of society, the major function of government is to provide security and welfare to the people. And it goes to the discussions, the angle at which we are looking at this scenario, that security has broken down in Nigeria. And people will have to also react.
Talking about reaction, let's get to hear this. Hello, good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
Good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
We lost that call.
People have to react. And part of the reaction is that sometimes, wrongly, people might have to protest. And sometimes we might have to organize ourselves properly. Part of what we are saying in Benue State is that if actually the farm was raised down by the people of that community, they might have their reasons, a kind of resistance against the hardship they are facing. But it might not be the right step in the right direction, because there could be some other legitimate...
Let's see if they share your view. Good morning. Please move away from your TV set. Good morning. Okay, we lost that call.
And so, apart from even Benue State, the whole country, we are having crisis of insecurity. The country is becoming a very, very dangerous place to live in. We are not sure of our next minute or our next moment. Apart from the Elders Fulani crisis, Boko Haram, and the Southwest here, is a case of also everybody not trusting the other person, because every other person you are looking at, you are seeing that person as probably a ritualist or a Yahoo person, and from nowhere you might be attacked. And so it shows that as far as Nigeria is concerned, governance is collapsing. Because if government cannot ensure security, what else?
Hello?
Hello?
Your name and where you're calling from?
Your name and where you're calling from? Your name and where you're calling from?
Okay.
So what has happened in Benue State, just like one of the callers said, is if a old former president will have such an investment, in quote, in a place like that, and there is no security there, what then happens to the rest of us? So if the primary function of government, which is to provide security and social welfare, is failing, then that means nothing is working. That means everything has been brought down to the lowest ebb.
Somebody suggested a dialogue, like a national conference, a national dialogue, where people will be able to discuss, the elders, the farmers, the community, to know the way forward out of this myriad of challenges.
I think that is one of the things that was promised by this government, that they will ensure that people of Nigeria have forum to sit down and discuss and engage on issues confronting them. But over the years, we have seen that deliberately, government has been making attempt to frustrate that, despite the fact that that was part of what they promised. People have been talking about sovereign national conference, national dialogue, and what have you, and close to almost 8 years now. As first tenure is gone, the second tenure is almost rounding up for General Buhari. They've not made attempt to call the people for us to, just like what happened during the state of nature as put by Thomas Hobbes, that the people decided to sit down and dialogue over their issues. They have refused to have a national dialogue, so we begin to look at different issues confronting us and discuss and agree on the way forward.
Let's speak it. Hello?
Hello?
Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Nancy Mercy. I'm calling from Brooklyn.
You're calling from?
Bonjour.
Okay, your contribution, please. Okay. Yeah.
So there is need. In fact, with the tension that we're having now, the people of Nigeria will just have to sit down, else probably, God forbid, with the tension that we're having, God forbid, we should not be hoping or praying or anticipating that there might be war, because I think the World Bank had said that with the crisis we're having, that there might be escalation of tension.
Pray for war,
with what is happening now, it's as if
let's still take this call. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
Engineer from Akwa Ibom State.
Oh, interesting. Good morning. Your contribution.
Yeah. Please, I think what we come from the insecurity, we should involve youth from each of the regions, because political, everything starts from the grassroots.
Okay.
Because nothing cannot happen without the grassroots as knowing about it. Nobody come from elsewhere to come and do that for another community. It's from that community. There is no smoke without
fire.
So let's look at the government. They know grassroots.
Okay.
Every politician has the grassroots. They start from their ward. So let's involve. Let's carry the youth along so that we can have the security in place.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that contribution. Yes, he's talking about the grassroots, that the youth must be involved in the fight against this insecurity.
Yes, it's a collective thing. The Nigerian people must be involved, because he has said it all. There is no smoke without fire. Most times, most of these things are also political, and they cannot just come from outside. It must also be from within. But are we given the opportunity to participate in our social lives? I think the Nigerian people have been isolated from the society, and those governing us are also very far from us, and they are deciding on our behalf from a very far angle, and so we are not seeing it together. So not until the people begin to see it together and discuss and engage together, then we'll be having the system properly democratized, and together we can now secure our society. But then the way it is now, it also shows a failure of the state. It also shows a failure of the Nigerian government to be able to ensure the securitization of the Nigerian people. And if we're having such a failure, especially in monumental level as we are seeing it now, because an average Nigerian should feel concerned with the issues of insecurity, because what we hear on a daily basis is a case of bad news. You wake up to listen to the news, your radio, read the newspapers, go online, it's bad news. It's either ritual killings, it's either burning of houses, it's either kidnapping and what have you. And one begin to wonder if there is a government in this country, If reportedly, in fact, if you look at it, probably we can say that in every 1 hour or every
Is it that there is
minute,
no government, or you think that what they are doing is not enough, they can improve on the
the
current
implication
fight?
is that governance is collapsing in Nigeria and people must talk to the matter. People have been avoiding this. If governance is not collapsing, how come the issues of insecurity is depreciating on a daily basis? We are not seeing improvement, because with all the crisis of insecurity, we should be having improvement on a daily basis. The reported cases should be reducing, but rather than reducing, it is increasing. To also tell you that government's response is very, very weak.
And I think that's a good take home for the policymakers to ruminate on how they can actually improve security. Thank you so much, Mr. Andre Meleze, for
Thank you
coming
so
on
much
AM Cafe.
for having me.
We quite appreciate you.
Yeah.
Yes, our